Okay, I'm gonna do not this version of the song, which is the Linda Ronstadt version, but the original version of Poor Pitiful Me, which is this one by Warren Zevon. I'd lay my head on the railroad tracks and wait for the double E. But the railroad don't run no more. Poor pitiful me. Poor pitiful me. Poor pitiful me. These young girls won't let me be. Lord have mercy on me. Woe is me. Well, I met a girl in West Hollywood. I ain't naming names. She really worked me over good. She was just like Jesse James. She really worked me over good. She was a credit to her gender. She put me through some changes, Lord. Sort of like a wearing blender. Poor pitiful me. Poor pitiful me. These young girls won't let me be. Lord have mercy on me. Woe is me. Well, I met a girl at a Rainbow Bar. She asked me if I beat her. She took me back to the Hyatt House. I don't want to talk about it. Poor pitiful me. Poor pitiful me. These young girls won't let me be. Lord have mercy on me. No, woe is me. Well, I met a girl from Vocab down in Yokohama. She picked me up and she throwed me down. Said, "Please don't hurt me, Mama." I guess he says that in the background. I didn't get that far in the song, but you know. But so would you ask me if I'd beat her? She took him back to Hyatt House, and I don't want to talk about it. She's evidently into S&M or something like that. But Warren Zevon is he is the same guy that showed up on David Letterman sometime back, and he was facing death because he had a incurable. He had cancer, and it was incurable. It had already spread to a lot of his body, and he left. He left David Letterman with some words of wisdom. They've got him. You can get T-shirts with them on there if you're facing cancer yourself, and it basically says, "Enjoy every sandwich," because that's how he looked forward to every day while having cancer. Was the sandwich he would eat that day. And if you've ever lived in New York, which is I think where he was, if you've ever lived in New York, the big deal there is when you go to when you go to a deli, you know exactly the kind of sandwich you want to eat, and you have to specify the bread, you have to just specify what's on it, and the meat. And part of the reason for that is because some of the people that come through are Jewish, and they don't eat pork, so But the person on the other end in the deli is not going to take the risk of giving somebody the wrong stuff. So they request from the customer exactly what they want on their sandwich, and the customer will give them the exact detail of what they need in order, what kind of. And my father said once he was in New York, and he said, I'd like to have a ham sandwich, and the guy at the deli was like just kind of staring at him, and then finally said, okay, on what kind of bun do you want that? Which just kind of threw him, because, you live in the Southwest. If you want a ham sandwich, they have to fix it anyway, but that's because they don't have Jewish people there. They don't have people, they also don't have people that have food allergies and things like that. So when you get something, you're going to get it, and this probably throws people from New York when they come to Texas to live, is when they get a sandwich, if it's from a deli, that, like if it was a Subway or whatever, Subway would probably let you give specifics on what you wanted, but if it was just some Texas town, it'd probably throw them that whenever they asked for something, it got fixed in a way that was unfavorable to them. So, also in Texas, you don't just walk around on the streets, because Texas drivers don't give a care about pedestrians half the time. And so if you're walking across the street, they're kind of like, hey, I can run over this dumbass, Some of the Texans are like that, so you have to be very careful. You can't walk around in traffic like you can in New York City, where people can be like right in the middle of traffic and everything stops, because the pedestrians have priority over the cars. And for that reason, the traffic in New York City is insane. It's like, why would you have a car in New York City? It makes no sense. You got all this public transportation. COVID made perfect sense why you would, because of the COVID. But, that's what made it spread so well, was because of all the public transportation. And the lack of, in some apartment buildings, the lack of proper ventilation and things like that made the disease spread really well. And hopefully the designers of the buildings and the apartment complexes are going to change how they deal with airflow in those places, because it's a dangerous place to live if you're dealing with any kind of disease, because the buildings have been there for hundreds of years, maybe 100 years, and they just, how much have they been renovated? Some of them not at all, and so you run risk. And whenever I lived in an apartment, I got asthmatic bronchitis because of all the dust in my apartment, and the reason why there was dust is because there was no real ventilation. The only ventilation that was provided was an air conditioner unit in the back of the room. And the thing is that the front of the room went into a hallway that would only have air the minute people opened up the front door. And I had the what's called the landlord's apartment. Or not the landlord, but the person who manages that. I forgot what it's called, but I had that bottom floor with the backyard, or the little patio, and everybody, though some would say, that you'd be envious of the people at the top, it's actually New York. Whoever has the patio, everybody in the building envies them. I got a knock on the door one day, and there was this English guy, and he said, I notice you never use your garden. Like it was a crime, And I say, what garden is? And, oh, my patio. And I said, yes, I think you should use your garden. And he was saying he couldn't stand to look on my patio and see that I wasn't using it. It was a crime to him that I wasn't using my garden. So I was just like, okay. I never did. And they would take freedom. They would take the freedom to go down the fire escape and sit out on that patio, and they would sit at night, possibly in full view of my naked body in my room through the window. But they probably didn't look. Even if they did, it wouldn't bother me at all, because there's apartments in New York where there will be like this open window with a curtain, and somebody in completely naked, completely aware that there are people on the other end that could see them, and they don't give a crap. In fact, it's a kind of a narcissistic thing. It's a narcissist paradise to live in New York City, because that's the way a lot of some of the people, I don't know how many, are, is that they're narcissistic. The whole city's narcissistic. It's all about itself. It all the video stores, even in the grocery stores, they play songs about New York. It's like, when you're in New York, they're going to make it extra special to tell you just how great a city New York is. It's the most fucking arrogant city there is in America. And when COVID hit, if you've lived in New York City, it's fairly hard to identify with them, because they're so fucking narcissistic. And so, and they probably hear this and say, well, no, we're not. And I said, yes, you are. And that's probably the reason why whenever there's any amount of distaste or rebellion, like from poor people or homeless people, some people just love it when that happens, because it's like the homeless person, basically bad-mouthing some rich snot, in Manhattan. If you're someone who understands just about how bad New York is with respect to its personal ego that it maintains, even whenever 9/11 happened, 3,000 people die, and it's a big deal. And then we look at Ukraine and how much people in New York are concerned about Ukraine. I would ask you to go and look, and they probably don't give a shit. So that's, and there are places in New York, I'm sure they do give a shit, but I'm just saying that it's quite a different town from the rest of America. Some New Yorkers actually will look at America, and it's basically like, here's San Francisco, here's New York City, and it's just all one island, one continent, and nothing in between, because they just fly from one end to the other. They don't go to Oklahoma. They don't even know where New Mexico is. I told them I came from New Mexico, and they said, how do you like it in this country? I'm like, you probably don't even know where the atomic bomb came from, do you? It makes you wonder if they ever finished high school. So, and you can get to high places without ever having an education. That's one of those big things. So I'm bad-mouthing New York, but it's for good measure. When 9/11 happened, because I was kind of disgusted with living in that city and the way people treat each other. When 9/11 happened, I was so apathetic to the whole experience that I couldn't even identify with other people who were concerned about 9/11 when that happened. It was shocking to them, and I was just kind of like, as much as I felt about the loneliness of living in that place, I probably would have boarded a plane and run it into a building just so I could spite this fucking city. And so I'm really expressing to you that I could almost identify more with the terrorists than I can with the people that live in the city. People who say that's heartless, but you didn't live in that city for 2 years, having been from the Southwest, and be there without a single person you could call friend or know. And it's fairly easy for me see that as a problem because I have certain problems that make it hard for me to develop friendships, to interact with people. It's one of my limitations. And so creating friendships and finding people to meet with and things like that, I would more likely be a agoraphobic or something like that, because that's not somebody who has the capacity to do wanderlust. If I was to have a significant other, I would probably forgive any amount of ugliness if that person had the capacity to go any place in the world and do anything and speak any kind of language. That would, for me, would make up for it, anything that they might perceive as themselves as being ugly. And I'm putting it out there because that will make a relationship extra special. It's not so much how one looks, but the spirit of one that determines, what draws you to them, is the things that they can do that you can't, and vice versa. That's why opposites attract, is because it isn't so much that they're opposites, but that they have skill sets that are completely opposite ends, and they're always wondering what the other is like, how this world is like. It becomes attractive, and the only way they can get to that is through this person who is completely not like them. And I would ask that if Jada is mad at Will for what Will did at the Oscars, and I told you guys the other day that I would not show up on American Idol. I don't give a shit about award shows. It's just super vanity. It's narcissism. It's pat myself on the back, show what a big shot I am being an actor, and you're forced to go do it because the stupid studios put it together. It's kind of a the awards ceremony, I could say, in a religious sense, is your way of worshiping the god of celebrity. And when Will slapped Chris Rock, which was much deserved, because Chris Rock is a kind of comedian I consider a bad comedian, because they prey upon upon embarrassment and making other people feel embarrassed. He does have sort of an irony into his comedy, but it's really about pointing out how stupid people are, and that's what makes everybody laugh. And I don't consider that good comedy. So whenever Will slapped him in the face, I was thinking, finally, this happened. Finally, Chris Rock gets his ass kicked, in plain view of everybody. And Will Smith is, if he was Trump, it'd be like, I'm not saying sorry. The guy had it coming to him. And now Jada is like mad at Will, and I'm saying, Jada, you're married to Will for a reason, or you're with him for a reason, and that is that he brings a part of the world to you that you wouldn't normally be able to get access to. And actually, it may not be that way at all. It may be something completely different. Maybe Will needs to consider his future loves to be somebody who is a star in a different field, like astronomy. Somebody who is an astronomer. Just kind of ponder what it is in your life that you don't have from the public world, from the world that you left behind, the world of being a nobody, and find somebody that is a celebrity maybe, but from a different field, something completely different. And in that, you're going to find a world that you've never known, and you're going to find a solace and a tranquility that you've lost as a result of becoming a celebrity. And so maybe this is the first step toward that, falling from grace, falling from celebrity, to possibly find the true love, which might not be Jada. he might have been doing that. He might have slapped Chris Rock thinking that that was what he was supposed to do in order to win the approval of Jada. And or any number of things. You could read anything in there. And the thing that's really kind of sad about celebrity is that everybody makes it their business to know what the celebrities are doing. When the celebrities got to that position, they never thought that becoming actors or becoming famous like that was going to be so hard, that their private life was going to get tossed out the window, that the cost of that there was such a great cost to the celebrity that they never foresaw, you know, and that the fall from popularity can be so steep that you might lose your life on the way down. So you kind of have to. That's the thing that I always try to look at, is I always look and see how big a burden other people's lives are, or what's special, and you know what they went through. And a relative today, a distant relative, is not somebody I'm related to, but someone who's related to. It's like the brother-in-law to a stepsister, my stepsister's husband, not a brother-in-law, but her husband, told me about this movie called Hero on Prime, and I'm going to check it out. And it's about a celebrity that in his dying days gets back what was lost to him as a result of becoming a celebrity. Because by becoming a celebrity, he lost most of his family, and then he's able to get it back in the last 2 years, or the last little time he has left on Earth. And so it sounds like a good movie. He likes dramatic movies. I'm more documentaries, but I'll watch pretty much anything if it's good. So I'm probably going to do that now. So